Right, guys, we got some wonderful guests with us here at the Detroit Hostel.
Going back to where I left off too.
Yes, and we had to pause because there were some bullet, sounds in the background and sirens, so we had to relocate. All right, here we go. So tell us your names.
Hi, I'm Lucas.
Lucas.
I'm Liz. I'm Crystal.
Liz, Crystal, Jason,
Hey.
Thomas. We got Amy. And you're not going to do it?
Yeah, I'm also Eunice right here.
Eunice, thank you. All right, perfect. So, who wants to start us off? Say your name, Lucas.
Lucas.
Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in your family. What was your family like? Your ethnic background, nationality, anything you want to share?
Well,
And how did that influence
we're
you?
just like, regular old white people family, but was divorced. My parents broke up when I was like 1 year old. So I never knew, like, a family, right? It was always spend time with your mom and then go spend the time on the weekend with your dad and stuff. And like I moved around, like I lived with my mom for 8 years and then I went and I moved and I lived with my dad for like another 8 years and then I'm back with my mom, back and forth. So I never had like a big, like family dinners, with everybody around the table, stuff like that. So, but it was good. It was a good, they both raised me right and they both liked each other. They didn't hate each other, so that was nice.
How did that shape how you became? And I'm very interested in all of these things for you guys.
I'm not sure how that would have shaped. Maybe I'm more appreciative of the relationships I have now.
Very
kind
nice.
of thing.
Oh, that's sweet.
Appreciate
And
the relationships
maybe
I
we
have
want to
now.
clarify because it looks like she could have been pointing to two women.
Oh,
So I
sorry.
want to make sure she's pointing to.
Use the plural.
This woman right here, not me.
Yeah. So maybe that. Other than that, I've never really thought about it actually. I've actually never given it any thought.
So then, Liz,
Yes.
in your case, did you have a similar upbringing to Lucas?
No, it was a bit different. I had parents that were together. My father passed away My father passed away about 5 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and my parents were together for 43 years, and I have two older brothers. And we grew up in a place called Oshawa. It's just outside of Toronto. And it was a really kind of nice upbringing. We had a really nice family. The only thing is when my father died, things kind of fell apart a little bit. My mom is really depressed a lot of the time now just because she's lost her partner. And so my brothers and I are trying to get the family back together, but it's difficult.
How did you meet Lucas, and how did you notice, for example, how it worked, the relationship worked?
Yeah.
Why, with different upbringings, was it able to work? What's the secret? What would you share with the students and everybody watching?
Well, actually, it's really funny how we met. We met on Facebook. I was talking to a mutual friend on Facebook, and it was, I don't know, I was talking about something silly, and then Lucas friended me, and I had no idea who he was. And we actually didn't meet for...
Another year after that?
I think it was...
9 months.
Yeah, it was a long time afterwards. We actually met face-to-face. So we just would talk back and forth on Facebook and Instagram, and then finally we met. And we were friends for about a month, I guess. And then we started dating.
Yep. And that was 9 months ago.
Yeah, that was 9 months ago, and
Now here we are in Detroit.
I think...
Yeah, safest place in the world.
Yeah.
I think there was...
Sorry, okay, you just have to...
It's not actually that dangerous here, but
I know.
I think the reason it works is because we both just have an appreciation for each other, and there's a lot of mutual respect, and there's a lot of things that we have in common, and we discover more and more every day.
So you travel a lot, and do you find that, do you all find in your relationships too, your family dynamic that travel helps you to grow and broaden your experiences
yeah.
beyond your family? And does it strengthen your relationships when maybe you're traveling together or traveling apart? I mean,
I think so. It depends on the person too and
You
your
say-
experience. I mean, like, and going cliche, like the whole idea, like, okay, so Confucius talks about like knowledge. There's like book knowledge. There's experience knowledge. You know, there's different forms of knowledge, and experience is part of that knowledge. It's extremely important in learning. So, you know, with experience, you do gain wisdom. Because wisdom, there's difference of like knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is from experience. And so that's why the whole respect to the elderly, because they've lived longer, they have this wisdom of life experiences. They know that you can't just learn from a book. I mean, if there was a book that told you about life and how to live it in such perfection, that person would be probably a billionaire. But there's no such thing. At all. Yeah, okay, sure. Not
that gets complicated.
that gets complicated. Let's not even go there. I can't even break that down. But no. But you know, experiences is that form of learning and gaining that kind of wisdom. And I don't think it's just like people think that because you're younger, you're not as smart as the other person who's older. I've gotten that a lot because I'm 27, but my experiences, I've had a lot of experiences that a lot of people, like my peers, have never experienced, and then they're just really surprised and shocked, and then they're surprised about my behavior and how I act because I don't seem my age. And it's like with anyone. I mean, you can have a kid who can be in a war-torn country, something that I didn't experience, but their experiences have developed and affected their behavior, and they have something to offer on the table. And I think it's important that people from all different backgrounds have something to offer in communication to learn and gain from something, and using that knowledge to develop and create something better in our society, in our world, to fix the issues and solve problems. And I think that's really important. The issue is that not enough people are not communicating. Not enough people are getting their words out. You're only hearing one side or the other, and it's very limited. And I just think that that's something that we need to break from. Think outside the box and get other people's opinions who come from different backgrounds to be put on the table and go from there and trying to fix the issues that we have in our world.
Very nice. Very
So-
nice. Oh,
So-
thank you.
So, and that, you know,
Yeah.
again, he's fixing the screen. So that, again, you know, it does affect the family too. Family does have a huge impact in how, in our behavior that we've said earlier, and like Talcott Parsons will say that it begins with the family. Family itself is actually its own little society.
Mm-hmm.
It starts from there, and then it grows, and it fits with Confucius' way of thinking that, you know, in order to create a harmonious society, you must first work on the individual. It begins in the family, and then you extend it out.
Let me ask you about this. Speaking of extending the family, and we have a few other people that are off frame here, for matters of anonymity and just
Or
being
shyness.
safe. And maybe they're a little shy. It's okay. But wait, hang on a second. But
Right away, Tom.
Very shy.
Thomas.
but my question is, this is a big one, on the idea of relating to, you know, upbringing, relationships, cultural differences, and also kids. You know, one thing I've studied is I've studied this for years. Couples that decide to have kids and couples that don't. There's a trend that a lot of people are not wanting to have kids because. Oh, okay, there are a lot of hands that went up here.
Different.
Okay, now I actually can tell you, like, I'm on a dating site, and there are a lot of women that are wanting to set up dates. I got dates this week,
Nice.
but thank you. We'll see what happens. I'm not really a player. I mean, unless you call going to on a roller coaster ride, which is what I'm going to do for one of the dates. You know,
Different kinds of players.
like, okay, but so my question is, what they're looking at is they're going to weed you out based on, do you have kids? And
Yeah.
you got to give the magic answer, and I'm like, can I leave it blank? And then also, do you want kids?
Yeah.
And so people are not there to waste anybody's time. But I've always wondered, I have a lot of students asking about this. They'll ask, and I'll just kind of, so you know who I am. Let me see if you can, let me see. Okay, I'm right here. So, okay, just so it's, not that you care, but, okay, so, but I have a lot of students ask me, they'll say things like, well, is the upbringing tied into your desire to want to have kids? What do you guys think? Or do you think that people could have travel goals or career goals? Like, a lot of people criticize Oprah Winfrey for not having kids. And then she said that her school that she started in Africa is where she has her kids. So what are your thoughts? Can pets also replace kids? I mean, what are your thoughts on
It's a
kids?
little bit of everything. It's not just culture or family. It's also, you know, society or even what you've experienced. I think it's different for everyone. So for example, my experience, like in the Korean culture, I've experienced this. When you a certain age, you should be married and having children. If you, my mom already implying I should have kids, because I'm 27. So it's like such taboo. If a woman has children out of wedlock, she's not married, it's like really taboo. You should have that child up for adoption, ostracized from society. And this is not just from my own opinion or experience, it's from talking with Korean locals and stuff like that and friends and everything. And it's, you know, it's interesting. Here in America it can be kind of different. Like, you know, you'll see a lot of women who are not married and have children. But it's completely different way of experience for Korean women who in Korea, they're like that. It's like not a good thing. And a lot of men, and I've had Korean men tell me this, that they, or even I think maybe even an Asian aspect of a culture, they don't want to be with a woman who already has a child from someone else because it's not their kid. So they desire to have their own flesh and blood kind of thing because the whole cultural expectation of passing on the family line.
I know. I have a really good friend of mine. She has 2 kids, and she's single now. She's divorced, and she's now dating. And she finds that the best thing that works for her is if she dates someone who also has children from a previous marriage.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think that a lot of single men that she's met, they're uncomfortable with the fact that she already has children.
Why is that?
They want to have their own, and she already has 2. So, you know, adding more to the mix, like they'd rather just have their own with someone exclusively. A cousin of mine actually married a guy with 3 kids, and they ended up having a 4th child together. And I think that happens too, where, you know, they want to have their own child together, and then they just bring the whole family together, and it works. But it's hard. Like, I know it's hard because my cousin now has 4 children, and, you know, all of a sudden, boom, like she married this guy, and now she has a lot of kids, and but they make it work.
Well, you know what's interesting, and I want you I want you guys to weigh in here. So, and what I'm finding out is the research shows that up until age 18, one child costs $417,500 with inflation, $1.5 million if you pay for their college.
Yeah.
Here
But-
in U.S.?
In the U.S.,
Yeah.
because see, in Canada,
Okay.
they get, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, it's paid through to the bachelor's degree, the end of the bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
No.
What?
Oh, you mean
Schooling?
Oh
schooling?
yeah, I thought it
Up
was.
until
No.
college. Like-
School's subsidized. So when I went to university, my tuition was $3,000 per semester. But here, I think in the U.S., it's what is it, 10?
That's so
Oh, it's like
much.
20,000 a year, or like
Oh
10,000
my
a semester, yeah.
How much is it?
So it's heavily subsidized by the
But
government.
it's great. It's like it's achievable. Like you could get a part-time job.
You lucky
My
bastard.
whole schooling cost me $12,000.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What?
Well,
12 grand?
My schooling cost me
Mine cost me
1,500.
less.
Like
I'm
My
gonna
entire
cry.
schooling book.
Oh,
Oh my
really?
god. Where did you go to school?
Paradise.
I went to school in Canada.
pay for everything?
Sir Sanford
Oh,
Funding
that's
College.
not
just
freaking
two
fair.
Foundations.
So my schooling cost
Oh.
40
A little more expensive
40,000.
here.
I just
It's
wanna-
a lot more expensive here.
Yeah, like so all in school, boarding, everything, lodging, it was 40,000, and I was able to. My father paid my tuition. That was the deal, and then I paid for everything else. So I basically had a full-time job while I was in school, and I ended up debt-free afterwards. Like, I didn't do the student loan route. I was like, I don't.
So in
want
Canada, they have student loans too.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I got OSAP like at a high school.
Yeah.
They just run your numbers, and my family were not rich, so they're like, okay, you
Yeah.
guys, your parents can't afford, so we'll pay for you.
That's amazing.
That's the same in Belgium.
Yeah.
You
They
get
just-
like scholarships from the
Yeah,
state.
so grants, stuff like that. And
So if you know that your schooling is taken care of, do you think that increases the desire to want to have kids? So, like, for example, can a family, if they're in a particular country now, if the government is going to help out, which I believe they should help out with, why does it stop in the U.S. with K through 12? It doesn't make any sense to me.
There's evidence has been found, data showing that educated families are less likely to have children,
That's true.
or if they do have children, it's not as like a lot
That's true.
compared to families that are uneducated or don't have as much education. They are prone to have more children and tend to be more in poverty.
It's very interesting you say that because that's exactly it. Women over 35 that have a profession, they're going to have fewer kids than women who have them earlier, like if they have them in their teens.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? And they're able to get more financially ahead because they have the career focus first.
yeah,
And
It's-
be able to
I don't know if
support
it's-
themselves.
I don't know how it's like in US or Canada, but I don't think it makes all that much of a difference in Belgium, because if you want to go to college, it's even cheaper than in Canada. For instance, without your books that you need, you pay like 600 euros for a semester. That's like about $700-800.
So- Uh-huh.
Oh,
And
you suck. Not really. I
no, but it's also because the state and the city you live in chips in a lot, and we got like scholarships for the people who don't have the means to go to college, like the families who aren't that rich. So I think that's something that's really necessary. A country should chip in for the education of its people.
exactly. Yeah.
But then do you think that freeing up finances changes your view on relationships?
It
And do you-
doesn't for me. Like, I had a cheap education, and I'm quite sure I don't want kids. Not at this point.
Why is it that you don't want kids? Why is it that some people want kids and some people do? I'm really curious about this.
It's a very personal matter, so I think it's up to you to decide. And if I ever do want kids, I'll probably adopt.
Yeah.
I'm not that
Good
hung
for
up.
you.
I'm not that hung about the fact that it's gotta be my blood. It's gotta be my child. If I raise him, it's my kid. So
So the
that-
baby doesn't have to look like you.
no.
It takes a village to do
No,
that.
we already have enough
Sorry.
people on this planet, and there are a
Yeah.
lot of children who don't have any parents,
Yeah,
so I might
it's
as well help out on that level instead of just making some more and adding to the numbers.
Yeah.
So.
What a way to help solve issues.
Yeah,
Sucks about it though is it's so expensive to adopt.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
only
what that's what I
35,000.
don't get is why it's so hard to adopt and so easy to make them.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
It's kind of hypocritical.
Anybody can
Stop,
at the
Iris.
same
Anybody
time.
can
Stop.
have a baby. Anybody can make a baby. It doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
you could be
You
a
don't have
drug addict and you're like, you can just
Yeah.
boom and boom have a kid.
exactly.
But if you try to adopt, you have to wait a year. You have to fill out all the paperwork. They
and
interview
go
you.
through
they-
all
they-
those
if you-
procedures.
Make sure you
and-
make some
which is
lunch.
good. Which is good that they're not just obviously
Yeah.
giving their kids away to
But then they
anybody.
should
sort
have
of
the
thing.
same thing when you're making them, in a
But,
sense. so.
yeah. Almost. There should almost be some sort of
you were gonna add.
Oh, I kind of lost my train of thought. But one thing I wanted to say about education is one of my best friends, he never went to school. He didn't go to university, but he's probably one of the most educated people I know.
He's self-taught.
He's decided to learn French, so now he's completely fluent in French, and he's just learning Spanish now. And he's probably 41 now, but he reads a lot. He's a very avid reader. He does the Open University, so you know that it's that it's a website, and it basically gives you courses from Harvard and like different Ivy League schools. And he watches the lectures and just continues to educate himself.
Right.
You don't really need education. Like there's lots of jobs you can find that are well paying that don't.
And there are
require.
so many books and opportunities you can pursue on your own yet.
Yeah, for example, being a pilot, you actually don't need to go to school for that. Like to be
That's
a
pretty
commercial
scary.
pilot, you have to go to
Not really.
pilot school, but you don't actually need a university education, and you can make decent money.
Well, this is.
Depends. Oh no.
We can go this way.
I want you to participate when you attend. When you come back.
You're
awesome. All right. Oh, hang on. It just times out real quickly. Hang on. This is very interesting so far. Hang on 1 second. This is fascinating, isn't it? Oh no.
No.
Because you're going to help a lot of people with this
I
clip.
feel like I think it also
Okay.
depends on the location or the where you live, because there's places that it's how things are established makes it kind of difficult. I think. I mean, like, I'm a complete advocate because I like, ever since I was a kid, I love to learn and study. I know people think I'm crazy, but I do. I like to learn and study, and I would do it on my own
Yeah.
for fun without
You can.
even,
And
you
it's
know,
easy.
yeah, without going to college and stuff. But then where I was, you know, in the United States, it's how they have things set up kind of makes it difficult to get a job
Yes.
without that
Yes.
bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
And I really, like, and I had no money. I was supporting myself. I still am supporting myself, even through college. I lived in a shelter. I was starving in poverty, considered in the United States in poverty. Not saying that I'm like, you know, other poverty in other countries, but in the United States definition of poverty, I was way below $15,000 a year and barely making it by. I was this close to, you know, filing for, what do you call it again? Bankruptcy. There we go. Bankruptcy. And so, you know, no matter what I did, I even tried to do it without having to go to college, and it's just impossible. So I was like, well, you know, I want to be an international educator, but some places kind of want you to have that BA, and
And
I
that's
just followed the game and did it just to have that piece of paper to move on and try to, like, you know, help myself and others in the process.
it's all like Liz said also. For example, if somebody's entrepreneurial, starting their own business or doing anything like that, and you guys are doing photography just as an example,
Well, yeah.
right?
It's just for fun.
But you could make it a career and get paid a lot if you're not already for the photos. There are a lot of people. There's a guy that I know in New York. He does this with painting. He can get a few thousand for a painting. I'm like, I better learn how to paint. I'm just saying. Well, what I'm saying is, there's some things that I still think
Location.
require training and skill. But then some things are not so heavily degree dependent as what you're saying. But real
Yeah.
estate, you don't really need. I mean, nobody's saying anything if you have a degree or not.
Well, I just wanted to add too, like I did a fine arts degree.
Mhm.
So, and then, but now, many years later, I'm doing something completely different. I'm a digital analyst. So it's a pretty technical profession. And it was just basically getting
Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, I'm a
It was
nerd
just
too. We're all nerds.
basically-
I see the Comic-Con wrist man.
Yeah. I think
It was
really
all nerds.
it's
Come on.
about networking. It's about who you meet and who you know.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yes.
I think for me, like my career path, I was a graphic designer. I used to design knitwear. I became a marketer, and then digital marketing, and now something completely technical. Like you can just kind of flow through.
Yeah.
And if you're a curious mind, and you have good social skills, you can find your way without university education. Like I think that universities and colleges, they're businesses. They operate like businesses. So
The
you have
teachers-
to be careful.
Joking, saying it's a incorporation or a corporation in itself.
It is.
It's a business contract you're doing.
They
Yeah.
don't really prepare you
No.
for
Well, it's the same
the
thing.
real
like,
world
yeah,
afterwards.
Here, like in the United States, and I don't want to offend anyone, but it's true. That's one of the reasons why I want to be an educator, because I find like in society, not just all societies, but like here in the United States, but I find in all societies like how we are only taught to see one perspective. Usually,
What is
we
that?
are like, okay, in the United States, like I find a lot of students, like a generation of students who come in that are just like cannot critically think, cannot apply certain things,
Yeah.
only stuck to seeing, just testing out. It's all about points and grades, and they're not like, they don't have, I don't know if you could say life experiences, but they just don't have like the means and the knowledge of how to apply any of it. And actually, they'll come out of high school and like be completely lost. I mean, I've experienced it myself, and it was so irritating. Not to mention that I felt like I was lied to. It's just like I just wasted my time. I could just, what the heck? But you know, and it's not just, you know, in the United States. You can find it in any culture, depending on the situation and the background. I think it's all about attitude. A person's attitude who is willing to, like, well, I see this one perspective, but I'm not going to just completely accept it flat on. I want to go look into other things. And education should be that outlet to show those other things and immerse them into that. And even if people don't figure out themselves at a younger age, but once they get into that college situation, whatever, that's the whole point of it, is trying to like teach them the means and the tools to how to apply this stuff. Once they graduate and have that BA or master's or whatever, they know what they need to do and whatever it is that they majored in or did. If that, you know, comes to that case, you know, and I think that's another reason why people are successful who don't go to college. They had that life experience. They went out like and did it, or did their own personal studies or whatever, and know what they need to do.
Well, see, this is beautifully stated, Crystal. So, and of course, Liz, I appreciate what you're adding, and Lucas and Amy.
I'm not trying to insult
No,
like,
no, no,
anyone
no,
or
no,
college
no.
education either. Like I'm fine with college and stuff, but there's some issues about not just college education, but here in the United States, education in general that just really irks me.
Well, so education is tied into.
And I've seen it in other cultures too.
It's 33% of one social class. So
Yeah.
education is so the one's class is determined by income, education, and occupation.
Yeah.
So tonight, for example, I went to that couch surfing event.
Yeah.
It was in a
Oh,
mansion.
nice.
Yeah, it was in a mansion, and they had a huge, gigantic house. They had house tours.
Mm-hmm.
But the kids, I didn't ask about what they were. You know, I was trying to find out more, but I didn't want to pry. But you know, they were kind of set. But there's an intergenerational wealth. So you have income, occupation, and education, but any of those can be off. So somebody might not. There's some people that don't work. There's some people that don't work, but their parents give them the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So
Status.
yes, so there's a status related to the upper class, upper lower class, upper middle, lower middle,
Mm-hmm.
working class, working poor, and underclass.
Yeah.
So why this is important to relationships, bringing it back full
Mhm.
circle,
Yeah.
is because we need people based on what we're doing. So it's interesting.
I
So I've
agree.
noticed that, like, for example, on the dating site, a lot of the people that are writing me it's kind of strange, but business, and then a lot of educators are looking
Mhm.
at my profile. They see that I'm an educator. They like, people feel, it doesn't mean that you have to do that. Yeah, but I would think people,
We don't usually marry within our class or status or lower, but normally we don't go up, and it's kind of rare for anyone to go above what they were born into.
but do you think that it makes well, what I'm wondering is, do you want somebody that's the same as you in
Well-
terms of doing the exact same thing? I mean, don't you think the variety...
I don't.
Variety is
I
important.
don't.
Explain.
I always aim higher. I always aim higher.
Explain, what does that mean? What does it mean to aim high?
I'm a construction worker,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you know, I live in the country.
Mhm.
I'm like a country construction worker.
Mhm.
Liz lives in Toronto. She's a city girl. She's a city professional, right? We're opposite ends. We have different worlds.
You're considered the outlier.
I love it, and I love that, right? And I love that.
It's
That-
refreshing.
Nothing wrong with that.
It is, right? Like it's an entirely different world. I bring her to the country, and we go out and do. And she loves it because she loves getting away from the concrete jungle, right? it's so quiet in the country. I love going into the city because the country's so boring, right? So
So maybe you need to live halfway in between.
halfway.
you know,
I
so
think that,
I love it personally. I didn't seek it out. I didn't purposely like sit down and go, okay, I'm single. This is what I want. It just happened, but it's great that it happened because
Well, I don't think I personally have a problem with social class, but the fact I think that you need to be open-minded when you are looking to meet someone. Like, don't be closed-minded. Like, don't. I don't know.
in Toronto,
Yeah.
I've found one of the first things when you go out to like if you're at a club or like a nice bar or something, when you meet someone, one of the first things that anyone asks is, "What do you do for a living?"
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I think they're trying to set where they stand in the social hierarchy
Yeah,
with you,
And if they have
kind
a
of thing.
chance.
And
I
and
think-
when I'm like, oh, I'm a construction worker or I'm a flat roofer, I work on roofs, and then the mood changes a little
Well, how
bit.
does
In
it
some
change?
places,
Big
there's like
change
a one bar in Yorkville. I had a bad experience with a preppy douchebag lawyer guy. He asked me what I did for a living in construction, and I said I work in construction. He goes, oh, me too. He goes, and I buy real estate and I sell it for like millions of dollars. And I'm like, right on. I'm like, I like teddy bears. I'm like, because what you just said has nothing to do with what I do for a living. It was just, but that's always one of the first things that people ask.
I
is,
think that
what
yeah.
do you do for a living? I personally never
Yes.
ask what you do for a living. What I'll ask you is, what are you interested in, or what kind
Yeah.
of
Yes.
what kind of
That's
music
what
do you listen
That's
I
to?
do
something
the
too.
same
I'm
thing.
What
the
kind of
same way.
music do you listen to, or what kind of movies do you like? I want to know. That's what you do for a
Character.
living doesn't matter. You could be a lawyer, or you could pour coffee behind the counter. I don't care
I
what
think,
you do.
Yeah,
you know,
like,
just tell me about you.
Yeah,
What
your
you do for a living.
identity is.
Yeah, like a
It's
lot
not-
of people are defined by what they do, but I'm not, and I don't
Society
define
and
anybody by
culture
what
is
they
that.
do.
I think if you're like just to the students, like if you're looking for a relationship or friends or making connections with people, should all be about respect. If the person is respectful, if
Thank
the
you.
person has common interests with you, I think that a lot of the times, like the parents will be like, oh, you need to marry a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. But if that person is not respectful to you, whether you're middle, upper, whatever class, it's not going to matter. Your personal happiness is very low,
But that's
right?
considered a
It's so
new
important.
phenomenon,
Yes, that's
though. But that's considered a new phenomenon because back then, marriage was a business contract between two families. It wasn't about
That's
love. It was about
True.
what they can bring, assets.
How many
wealth.
cows? How's
Wealth.
the dowry?
Hold
know,
on one
family.
second, and there's going to be more on part 2. We're going to save this as backup.